again, and in this presentation I'm going to offer you some interpretation on Psalms 51 and 52, how they go together well. Both of these are going to be about an enemy, somebody that's an evildoer, two evildoers in both of these Psalms. One of the evildoers in Psalm 51 turns back to God in repentance. The evildoer in Psalm 52 does not return back to God in repentance. But both times, in both, God is going to be glorified, and we're going to see a characteristic of God that is going to be very powerful, even in both of these Psalms. So let's take a look at Psalm 51, which is something that we were all familiar with. It's a psalm of repentance that is attributed to David when he sinned against God by killing Uriah the Hittite. Now, before we take a look at the actual psalm, I want you to imagine yourself, you're in a court, you're a judge in a courtroom, and you've heard the verdict from the jury that the defendant is guilty of his crime, and you just heard the impact statement of the victims. And now you're about to hear the statement of the defendant. He's going to make a statement and talk about talk to the judge and address the judge before the judge sentences the defendant who has been found guilty. Now, probably the best tactic for the defendant is to admit his guilt, to say, look, I'm really sorry, and then have a lot of empathy toward the victims and how the victims have been hurt and how he understands and acknowledges this hurt. And so he wants to try to use the punishment as a source of solace, or at least some consolation to the victims. That would be a really good tactic to take. Now let's take, for instance, let's say, for instance, this defendant turns and says to the judge, listen, I am guilty, and I know you're going to give me sentence, but please let me go. I want to go free. All of this burden of this guilt, all of this trial has made me very sad. I want to be happy again. So please take away all of this. Make me fresh and white as snow. Make me without any guilt, and I'll be happy, and I'll be a good person again. And I'll be like I'll have new life, and I'll be a good person, worshiping God. I'll do all wonderful things for society. And if you just take away all this guilt and let me go free. Now, if a defendant did that and you're the judge, you're probably going to add time to his sentence. that's the kind of, that's probably not the best tactic to use. So why is it a prayer to God? Why is that the tactic that we're going to use when we turn to God in our own guilt? Now, what's happening here is that something amazing is that God is completely, totally different from anyone else. He is a judge that is much, much different from any other judge. And at any time that we're in a judgment seat, we tend to be, we want to balance the scales. But God has made a promise, a promise of mercy, a promise of trying to bring people back into his own presence again. This is a very, very different tactic. In fact, this is the reason why that no one really should judge except God, because only God can judge the right way, okay? Because we always judge by, and that's not like God. God is totally different. So that's why God is so glorified in this particular psalm, is because God comes up so much different that you can never use this prayer to anyone else but God. And that's how we can turn to God and say, God, the sadness of hurting, of sinning, and violating your commands has crushed me. Please revive me again, make me whole again, bring me back in the true spirit. So we're going to take a look at God in a way, and what this psalm really does is forces us to see God in a new perspective that we've never seen here on this planet. A way that God is going to be glorified, and we're going to see God doing something that nobody else really can do when they are in the act of judging others, particularly when they are guilty of a particular sin.